Hello, today I'm going to be talking about editing this photo here that was taken in the mist. I shot this a few years ago and I really like this photo. There's a great sense of depth in here with this winding path going from the left of the image to the right and on and back of the trees, and great sense of atmosphere with the mist. And what I want to do though is cut down on some of the mist in the front of the image and give a little more emphasis to the path as well as the trees here. Now I shot this on a Nikon D7200. I was at 1/100th of a second at f10. That was the depth of field that I really wanted in here, so that it's a little blurry in the background there, but we have enough depth of field here in the front so that the trees are prominent there in terms of clarity. And in order to do this handheld, I needed to raise that ISO a little bit to 250 because I didn't have my tripod. Normally I would shoot at ISO 100, but I did need to get that shutter speed where I needed it. So we're going to go ahead and start editing here. If I hit the D key on my keyboard, the first thing I'm going to do with the image is I always adjust for the lens distortion. So I go here to lens corrections. I always hit enable profile corrections. That'll adjust for the type of lens that I was using at the time. If I turn that off, take a look at the image. Now watch when I turn it back on, you'll see the adjustments that were made. I also hit remove chromatic aberration while I'm here. So that'll take care of any type of color fringing that's happening, especially in the high contrast areas. You'll tend to see sometimes it's a blue or purple line that will happen in there against the edge, and that will get rid of that. Sometimes as I start to edit, I'll notice even more of that happening. Now, the basic panel. Anytime I add contrast to the image, I'm going to automatically cut through that mist that's there. So I start by adjusting the white and black point. So bringing down the black slider and hitting the option key on the Mac, I will see exactly where the image is going to pure black. And I always like to bring it right down to that area, have something actually pure black in there. You can see right away that we have cut through the mist there towards the front of the image. And then I'm going to adjust the white point. I'm going to bring this up just to where it starts to blow out there, and then bring it back so that it doesn't. And now the image is a little brighter and it's looking pretty good. Now I do want to bring more emphasis to the path there, and also the trees. So I want those to be more prominent. In terms of the path, I want the area that's wet to be even more noticeable. So when I want to do that, I adjust it with clarity. Anytime I bring up that clarity, it's going to take whatever is wet and make it seem even more wet. So if I want to get just the path, I'm going to go to my adjustment brush up here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the clarity just right around there. And I'm going to also take a look at the mask here. I'm going to hit auto mask, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to be careful that I don't actually go over the dark area of the path and into the green area of the grass there. So this is going to detect the edge there. As long as I stay within that inner circle, I should be okay. Now I can also look at the area that I'm actually brushing if I bring on the mask. So if I go to show selected mask overlay, I will see that. So first I'm going to start painting over here, and you'll notice that the areas that are wet in the path, it's even more noticeable. But if I want to actually see where I'm painting through there, I can either click show selected mask overlay, click that and you'll see it, or I can just hit the O key. That'll bring you there as well, and that's often quicker for me to use the shortcuts. So I can see areas where I didn't quite make it through here, and then coming through here, then I'm going to right click and bring this a little smaller as I head back to this area of the path in the back, make it even smaller. I'm going to go all the way back here. Okay. Yeah. Whoops, I went over there. I'm going to don't want to go quite. Okay, there we go. What I'm going to do next is take quick look here and make sure I didn't go over the edge. If I do go over the edge, I'll purposely go over there. All I need to do is go over to erase here and then kind of just go back and take care of that. All right, so I have the path looking pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that mask. And I'm going to go back using the backslash key to go back to where we were at the beginning of the image. And there's where we are now. Now, the next step is to address the trees. So I'm going to go to New over here, and I'm going to bring the clarity back down, but with the bark in the tree, the bark should have a little brittleness to it. So I'm going to increase the texture slider, and then I'm going to start painting on here so that I can just adjust the tree area. Now again, I'm going to bring up the mask, so if you want to see exactly what you're doing and be very precise, and I'm going to go through all the trees in the front, just the front, because I do want these trees in the back here to have that sense of depth, so I'm not going to paint on those at all, but I'm going to go through here and take the time to paint through these trees. I see I went over here, and I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here just so we can get the trees all painted in, because it is going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that we have the trees painted over here, we're going to turn off the mask there, and let's take a good look at the trees close up. I'm going to hit the Z key, and I'm going to show you what happens when I bring that texture slider down and what it's actually doing when I bring it up there. See how it's bringing much more emphasis. Now we don't want to go too high or just doesn't look very good. So I'm going to bring it down just about there, and that looks pretty good. Bring it back and look at the whole image, and I think it looks really nice. And a lot of this is just personal taste. I mean, that's what I love about editing, is this is the way I would edit it, but someone else might do something different, and that's perfectly okay. The whole idea is to, in my opinion, is just to bring your own personal artistic touch to whatever photograph you're editing. So I like this, and I think it looks really good. Now, the one area that I need to adjust, of course, is the color. I want it to be more emphasized in certain places, so I'm going to go back to the basic panel. And I always work with the vibrance slider first, so I don't just bring all of the colors up evenly as I would with the saturation slider. I just want to bring up these less prominent colors in there and take a look at that, and you can see right away that that looks pretty good. We've got a little bit more emphasis to the greens there. I would like a little bit more in the orange area back here. So what I'm going to do there is go to the HSL panel, and looking at the saturation area, I'm going to go to orange and increase that a little bit, and just take a look back there as I'm doing that. I'm going to bring it all the way up so you can see which areas we're actually hitting there, and just bring this down to where it looks balanced to me, and that looks pretty good. And the very last thing that I will do with all my images is add a little bit of sharpening to it. So I generally don't go up too high with this. I'm just going to bring it up. I'm looking here actually to see what adjustments are happening there. We don't want to go too far. So I'm going to bring it up here, and that looks pretty good. Radius I usually take up to about 1.2, and then I hit the Option key and bring up the masking, because I don't want to just add the sharpening to just the entire image. I mainly just want these edges here. That's a big, yeah. Just going to bring it way up here, and I think that'll look pretty good. In terms of noise reduction, I'm just going to take a good look in here. I'll make a slight adjustment there. I don't like to increase this too much, because then the image just looks kind of pasty, and it just kind of it actually takes away from the definition. So I'm just going to bring it up a little bit to get rid of that tiny bit of noise in there. And there we have it. I'm very happy with that image. It's something that I would frame and put on a wall. And just going all the way back, taking a look at the hitting the backslash key, and just taking a look at where we started and where we ended up. So that's it. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I hope you will come back and watch the next video. Thanks.